Staff Association of University of Ghana announced a nationwide strike over government failure to address demands for improved working conditions despite numerous protests and negotiations. Later on, we'll also be giving you some updates on progress of work on some big push projects across the regions. Details of these and more shortly. My name is Grace Hammoah Agyemang. Many thanks for joining us. Let's begin the bulletin from here. It's been 59 years since the National Liberation Council government changed the name of Ghana's international airport from the Accra International Airport to the Kotoka International in honor of Lieutenant General Emmanuel Kotoka. Kotoka was casualty in a bus coup attempt on April 17, 1967, in what became popularly known as Operation Guitar Boy. Decades down the line, agitations by various groupings have pressured successive government for a change in the name, as the name remains a stark reminder of the overthrow of Ghana's first president, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. In the last few weeks, fresh pressure has been brought to bear on government again. This afternoon, Majority Leader Mahama Ayariga says the Mahama administration is set to change the name into a new one. We'll be taking you shortly to Parliament for that conversation, but let's speak to Kwame Anoche Frimpong. He's a historian and a legal practitioner. Mr. Anoche, thank you so much for talking to us. From a historic perspective, does renaming the Kotoka International Airport correct a historical wrong linked to the overthrow of Dr. Nkrumah, or does it risk reopening old national wounds?
Well, thanks for having me. And my answer is that the two answers you suggested are true. Because whenever anybody hears about the name Kwame Nkrumah on the African platform, and indeed, just last year, the United Nations accepted Nkrumah as a name that is worthy of international syllabus, to be placed within the international syllabus as going in line with African liberation and then emancipation, as well as the unity of the continent. Now the United Nations has accepted that. And then when you come to Ghana, we know him as the founder of the Republic, and then the African continent also know him as the millennium, the African man of the millennium. And ironically, the main international airport of the country is named after the architect of the coup that overthrew him. That was completely difficult to understand when it comes to reasonability and common sense. Well, over the years, a lot has been done to restore the image of Nkrumah, like those who brought the body back, like General Achampong, somebody like Flight Lieutenant Roberts, who renamed KNUST after him, Nana Akufo-Addo, who recently retrofitted the Kwame Nkrumah Mausoleum, and President Kufuor, who did the Ghana at 50 fully in memory and commemoration of Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. Today, we are renaming the airport either to Accra International Airport or to Kwame Nkrumah International Airport. I believe that history will have been revisited, because the airport was built in the early 50s by the Royal Air Force of Britain as one of their military bases. Then Kwame Nkrumah, knowing that after 1951, soon there was going to be a full-fledged independence, and a lot of people will converge at in Accra, decided to build it from an airport base to an international airport to receive the visitors. Then let me tell you a piece of history. After completion of his work, he visited the Asante and told him that because of female empowerment and the unique achievement of Yasantua, who fought to protect that Ashanti heritage, that African heritage, that Ghanaian heritage, being the golden stool, he wanted to name the airport after her. Because of those days, the UP, Matemawo and CPP fighting, the Ashanti chiefs refused to listen to Prempeh II. So it continued to remain Accra International Airport. Then after him...
Mr. Noche, so the new push or the new call for the name of the airport to be changed, do you think it is maybe a shift in political ideology, or it is rather historical consensus that is coming up now?
It is historical consensus because after the fall of the Soviet Union, even that massive country, Russia, that brought communism to the world, decided to bury all things related to the revolution. So the remains of Lenin were buried, and then St. Petersburg, which was then Leningrad, was renamed to St. Petersburg, which you have today. So once you move away from revolution, from military dictatorship, you are supposed to bury all things associated with the revolution. So it is good that now that we have a constitutional administration in place, all things dedicated to the military will completely phase out.
So, Mr. Noche, if the name of the airport is renamed, what precedent does it set for other national institutions and monuments associated with controversial historical figures? And how should Ghana balance memory, accountability, national identity going forward so that we don't look like we have left some part of our history behind?
That's a very good question. If the airport is renamed, it does not mean our history has changed, but it only shows that the accounts have a saying that if you are a good ghost, we name our children after you. If you name your main international airport after a coup maker, you are indirectly teaching your school children that when they grow up, they should stage coups to overthrow democratically elected government. So psychologically, when we change, is good. You yourself, I believe, you travel many times, and when you sit with another African at the same place, and he asks you, when they say fasten your seatbelt, we are at Kotoka International Airport, and then he asks you what is the meaning of Kotoka. See how embarrassing it is when you are answering the person. We are researching history, and then as you mentioned, other places. Kwame Nkrumah, what do you call it? University of Science and Technology has been given back to him, but it also means that other people who have done great things for the nation should not be forgotten. Nobody should forget Buzia. Nobody should forget General Echampo, even though he was a military leader. Look at what he did for this country. Nobody should forget Flight Lieutenant J.J. Rawlings, because some military dictators decide to stay on until there is a civil war in the country, like what Doe did. So I'm only saying that it should be the beginning of many great things to come. But this one, I suggest to Parliament, like the CD we have, it contains the portrait of 6 people, from one CD to the highest denomination. Nowhere in the world have we got this. The one CD should bear the effigy of one great man. 2 CDs, different person, 5 CDs, 10 CDs. You can't place 6 people on the whole currencies as well. It's very bad. So this is the beginning. I believe that many good things are going to come.
When we will also talk about that change. Mr. Noche, thank you so much for talking to us. We have been speaking with Kwame Anoche Frimpong. He is a historian.
Yao Anoche Frimpong.
Yao Anoche Frimpong, a historian and a legal practitioner. Thank you so much, sir, for talking to us. Let's just stay on this and go to Parliament, where the legal process for that change is expected to begin. Christian Yale, my colleague on the floor of the House. Christian, we know it is the first day for the House resumption, and already it looks like it's going to be very busy and hectic. Talk to us. Has this change already, conversation on it? Have it already started? What do we know?
All right, so the chamber is yet to say. What we are currently doing is the leaders' media briefing, which the majority leader is currently taking with some of these revelations that are coming up. In fact, Grace, when you take out this proposal to rename the Kotoka International Airport, there are a raft of bills that various ministers are proposing to introduce. And I would quickly run you through some of them. When you take the Energy Ministry, for instance, the Energy Minister is proposing a new bill to enact a new National Petroleum Authority. And then there is also a proposal to even merge the PURC with the Energy Commission to form what we call the Ghana Energy Regulatory Commission, so that we will not have the two, commissions separately. The two would be merged. Now, apart from that, there is one also about the Ministry of Environment, which is proposing to bring a legislative instrument to control noise pollution from various sources to protect human health and environment. Then the Defense Ministry has establishing a defense university, because right now, when you look under the umbrella, the bigger umbrella of the Defense Ministry, there are a lot of schools, different schools that train different people for different purposes under the military and other security agencies. And so that Defense Ministry university should amalgamate or bring all of these universities under that one umbrella. And
right.
So these are some of them. In fact, there is a bill from the tourism minister to establish what we call the Kwame Nkrumah Memorial Park Authority. So, which is also another bill that has been hinted. So you understand that there are a raft of the bills and legislative instruments and regulations that the ministry are bringing or proposing to bring to Parliament over the course of this session. And once they are approved, then we would have the necessary changes made.
Christian, thank you for those updates. We'll definitely come back to you when the House begins sitting. Christian Yale, my colleague in Parliament, updating us on what we're expecting as the House begins sitting today. Let's go to the Eastern region, because the Cadet Police there is investigating the circumstances that led to the death of a young couple following a domestic dispute. The deceased have been identified as Atapeni, age 22, and his girlfriend, Deborah, age 21. Both are natives of Achem Takrasi, but were living in Kade at the time of the incident. Sources have narrated varied accounts of what they believe may have happened. Friends who got suspicious of the whereabouts of Atapeni informed neighbors who broke into his room. They found Deborah had sustained fatal injuries from a knife with blood oozing on the floor. Atapeni was also found in the same room with a rope tied to a ceiling fan in what the police suspect to be suicide. The police have since conveyed both bodies to the Kede Government Hospital for preservation and further investigations. Yvonne Ike is Eastern Regional Correspondent. She's on the line. Yvonne, what more can you tell us about this incident and what are authorities doing about it?
Well, Grace, it's been an worrying issue that has brought shock to the residents and neighbors of Kede Sakura Park, because really these are very young ones who are supposed to be in some kind of emotional relationship, but unfortunately we're losing them. Now the bigger question is that when young people go through such issues, exactly who do they resort to? Do they resort to their parents, mental health care, or counseling? Because what we're seeing is that when such issues happen, people do take to taking their own lives and probably that of their partners. The numbers are not huge, but if you keep losing quite young people in this kind of circumstances, then it means that quickly our social health department, mental health, and others do have a lot of education to do for the young ones, as to ensure that the law also take its course.
Has the police been able to contact families of the deceased? What are they saying?
Well, the police have already contacted the deceased, because when the issue happened and then the friends of the...
Thank you for those updates. Rather unfortunate there, but we'll definitely come back to you when there's updates on this. Thank you for talking to us. Yvonne Nikwe is our correspondent in the Eastern region. Let's go to the Volta region now. The Volta MP's caucus is threatening an action against two construction companies working on roads in the Volta region and the government flagship project, The Big Push. The MPs, while on a tour of ongoing road projects in the region on Monday, cited Greenhouse International Developers Ghana and the China Railway Group for non-performance and threatened to have their contracts terminated. Correspondent Faisal Abli Idris will join us with details on this development. Faisal, thank you for your time. You were on that tour with the Volta MPs. Can you detail for us what really necessitated that threat from them against these two companies?
Yes, so yesterday, the Volta MPs caucus embarked on a tour of all government projects in the region, starting from the University of Health and Allied Sciences campus project in Kokwe. And then they moved on to the Kokwe to the Harvest Stretch of the Eastern Corridor Road, where the Greenhouse International Developers Ghana is supposed to be working. They had moved to site somewhere last year and had been there since then till date. But the MPs observed that work on the stretch has been very slow. I recall that in December, the Volta Regional House of Chiefs and some other stakeholders, including the Volta Regional Minister, did a similar tour, and the observation which they made was that the greenhouse company on that stretch was very slow. It's the same sentiment the MP shared yesterday. When they moved down to the Ho to Aflao stretch, between the whole airport side to Kwete, which the China Railway is supposed to be working, they have since not even moved to site. These, the MP say that will delay the work unduly, and they threatened that they were going to first and foremost draw the attention of the roads minister, and if necessary, the contract be terminated for these two companies. Let's have a listen to the honorable member for Ho West, Emmanuel Kushi-Bedra, who also is the chairman for the Volta MP's caucus.
We have concern with two of the contractors. The greenhouse construction, we noticed that they are not performing at all. And then when we go to China Railway, they are not at site at all. These two, we have concern, and we will report that to the minister. If they have to giving it to somebody else to do, we will do that. We don't want the delay. They've given us 24 months. Within that 24 months, we want to see all projects under the big push in the Volta region completed. If you cannot perform, if you're a foreign company, you cannot perform, let the local companies do their work. If the Chinese cannot perform, we relocate them, send them into some of the feeder roads to go and work there. Having said that, we want to commend the contractors highly and Ghana Highways Authority as well as all those who are on site and who are performing. We want to commend them. We only wish them that within the contract period they'll be able to complete and no variations.
Right, Faisal, we know the Volta Regional Minister has also been speaking. What did he say?
The regional minister, all they are doing, this is the second one, is to ensure that they monitor the progress of work and also ensure that the contractors deliver according to specification. They do not want to entertain any form of shoddy work. Yesterday, he has been urging the contractors to engage with the traditional authorities and every relevant stakeholder anytime there is an issue, so that the 2 years period within which they are supposed to deliver on these projects, they are able to meet this timeline. He also advised that they should organize regular site meetings so that if they come to site, they will know where the progress, they will be able to monitor the progress of work according to whatever site plan they have. Let's have a listen to James Gono, the Volta Regional Minister.
In fact, the entire Volta region has become a construction site. That is what we are, observing, witnessing, and we will continue to monitor and coordinate the affairs of all these contractors. We see them as our development partners, and we urge them to do quality work with speed. They have been given 24 months, and some of them have promised that they will even do it within 18 months. And we have seen some progress so far. And the work is so competitive that if you are a contractor, you are not working, you'll be exposed. And you can see it for yourself.
Volta Regional Minister there. Faisal, thank you for bringing us those updates. Let's just stay on the issue of the big push and go up north, because work on the Wenchi Bole Wa Highway project under the big push is progressing steadily. A visit to the Waka Waka site now saw contractors busily working on the road. The 195-kilometer Wenchi Bole Solawa Road is a key project under the 13.8 billion cedis phase one of Ghana's Big Push infrastructure program. The project involves upgrading the Sunyang Tichuman Bole Bamboy Hamile stretch of the N12 with a focus on delivering high-quality, durable road infrastructure. The project was formally initiated with a sword cutting ceremony on November 5, 2025, with construction expected to take 24 months. Well, let's stay on this and talk to my colleague, Christopher Mako. Christopher, what has been the reaction of communities living along the stretch of the road?
Yes, so Grace, these communities are very happy about the commencement of the big push. What they
Any job within the Bole Bamboo constituency that you think our people can do it, please help us and let them also benefit from this. Like I said, even if I'm not in town, there are people who, on daily basis, who come around to assist in whichever forms to ensure that contractors are able to do their work and do it well. There's a contractor who will take care of Chache Bole Road. I'll be going to that road as well. And then he will also take care of the Bole Town roads. Some governments are taking place to ensure that we get everything right. And as soon as that is done, the Bole Town roads will also start, the contractor will also start constructing them. You have just listened to me speaking with my brother, the contractor, Ali Marpoma, and he's giving us all the assurances. Let me thank the good people of Bole Bamboo for your patience. Let me thank the chiefs for their cooperation. And let me thank everybody who is in this area for the kind of cooperation we are seeing amongst you and amongst us. On this note, we want to thank the contractor who is here and to tell him that we will follow him strictly to ensure that he delivers the best that we all expect.
Right, Christopher, briefly before I let you go, paint for us a picture of the progress of work so far, briefly.
Yes, so far the contractor has begun work. In fact, he has actually pitched camp around the Waka Waka area and has started work. Heavy duty equipment have been deployed to the area. Tipper trucks and others have been deployed to the area, and work has begun. The contractor has actually given assurances that he will be able to work to meet the schedule of the project so that it will open up the area for economic development.
Right, Christopher, thank you for those updates. Christopher Mako, my colleague in the Northern Region, updating us on the progress of work of some big push construction roads in the area. Let's come to the Greater Accra region, where the Accra Metropolitan Assembly is continuing with its decongestion exercise in the Central Business District of the capital city. The operation is aimed at easing congestion, reducing persistent vehicular traffic, and improving safety for both pedestrians and traders. Let's now connect with my colleague Nura Mohammed, who has been monitoring the ongoing exercise. Nura, what's the latest from where you are?
But then during the Christmas, the Central Business District to reinforce and reintroduce the red line policy exercise is taking place. Now, if you recall, last year in May, the Accra Mayor, together with the Metropolitan Assembly, came to the Central Business District to reinforce and reintroduce the red line policy. And this was to ensure that the traders do not encroach the pavement and to sell their wares and their goods behind the demarcated red lines on the pavement. But then during the Christmas festivities, the Accra Mayor gave the traders some reprieve and then ensured that although they sold on the red lines, they gave them an ultimatum to eventually go back behind the red lines come February 1st. And on Sunday, February 1st, sticking to their promise, the Metropolitan Assembly came back to sack the traders and to tell them to go back behind the red lines, essentially to reinforce the red line policy. We're here to monitor the process. We can see that the traders and the Metropolitan Assembly task force are in some kind of disagreements here and there, but then the authorities are trying to ensure that the right thing is done. So let's engage some traders and hear what they have to say.
Ya papa Mr. President say, ya mre chire na payment no so nda ho no bi sia wanya kwan. E na omo ya pepepe. Afa ya be share dwa, omo ba say Kibu school ma me no wo no mu say yem free ha. Yan so ya wa 35 years ni. Aya na ye adwuma. And yeah, 35 years near me started me Tomako ha. Mammy, where you were son or buyer. And people time, Nina, ya shadow, mammy, wait, Nanitria. Nana, dear, Ayano, or say young pay uncle, or say Kibusku, extra for you now, so Montrasi. But ya paddy uncle, yes, Mr. President, yes, Papa John Mamma, my boko to drain, me panic chow, on can't be my no way a mobile. Aya ni bibia enkwada guaso e wo musa mema boa se so ya mwa enkwa yanim nti asra no ye de yani bibia kapa cho ne ye pa ne cho so hu ya mobo so de oye ma ye da no oye ni sa ma ye ti asra no ya twi akwanchen encha no so si no mo si de bi ebi musu hye omusi enja akwan se ya ti ase ya da akwan akotena ban no ya kasa ya omusi omba ba hwa amaye nti anapa kra me yo na ba sin wa o se ye ma no 2 days to ba hwa amaye nti se ye wa ye twen no jomu ye ndie ni kwan so a mi panye fa ye siba no na me fi yo na kan no afi oda afi.
So you heard some traders there speaking to my colleague Nura Mohammed, asking the Accra Metropolitan Assembly to give them some time for them to adjust to the new changes that the Assembly wants to implement in the market to ensure pedestrian safety and also reduce congestion. We will bring you a lot more on this in our subsequent bulletins, but that's all time will allow for us for the edition of the midday news on 3FM 92.7. Many thanks for joining us. My name is Grace Hammoah Agyemang. Log on to 3news.com and get some more stories. Up next is the business team is standing by to bring us the latest in the world of business. You can also log on to 3news.com and get some more stories. Good afternoon.
Hello there, good afternoon and welcome to Business Daily on 3FM 92.7. Coming up, Joe Jackson backs Bank of Ghana's reserve. A rebalancing indicating gold stockpiling is no magic wand for the city.
We're not going to get a benefit increased gold reserves. And in fact, that has been partially proven by the fact that the drop in gold reserves has not been replicated by a drop in CD value.
And local rubber processors cry foul over raw material exports, warn of industry collapse. Plus, JP Morgan upgrades Afreximbank bonds to overweight following Fitch downgrade dispute. I am Michael Obodu. Details of these and many other stories coming up shortly. Do stay tuned. Thank you so much for your time. Straight into our top story now. Financial analyst and CEO of Daylex Finance, Joe Jackson, has thrown his weight behind the Bank of Ghana's decision to liquidate a portion of its gold reserves, arguing that simply holding on to physical bullion is not a guaranteed strategy for currency stability. Speaking on Business Focus, Jackson addressed the recent controversy surrounding the central bank's move to convert over 50% of its gold holdings into liquid foreign exchange assets. While some critics have voiced concern over the reduction in fiscal gold, Jackson emphasized that stockpiling gold does not necessarily strengthen the city.
Was the central bank getting the benefit of increasing its gold reserves so much? Now, some have argued not, and that after a certain point, we're not going to get a benefit in increased gold reserves. And in fact, that has been partially proven by the fact that the drop in gold reserves has not been replicated by a drop in CD value. So look at it this way. My reserves show up my value. If my reserves drop by 50%, I'm not getting value for that 50% that I was holding, right? So for now, it seems like we are okay, that the liquidation has been reasonable. So you can't, at this point, you can't say it was a hasty move. Also, remember that somebody has to determine that at 5,000, is that going to be the peak? Or is gold going to rise all the way to 6,000 and beyond? Somebody has to make an estimate. Somebody has to say, I'm getting out of it when my gold is at its peak. Somebody may say, but it's going to rise. I think that gold may be nearing its peak. We don't know.
You heard that financial analyst Joe Jackson, and he's the CEO of Daylex Finance. Government is under fresh pressure to shut the door on raw rubber exports as domestic factories warn of an imminent collapse. Local processors have petitioned 3 key industries, citing a staggering $500 million loss to the state if the current trend continues. This 3 Business News Desk report has more.
Ghana's rubber industry is at a crossroad. Local processing companies have filed an urgent petition with the Ministry of Food and Agriculture, Trade and Finance. Their message is simple: regulate raw rubber exports now or watch the domestic industry die. The processors say they are currently being starved of raw materials. Foreign buyers, backed by stronger purchasing power, are sweeping up unprocessed rubber at higher prices, leaving local factories with empty shades. Some plants have already slashed their workforces by half, while others are operating in a single shift just to stay afloat. The financial stakes are massive. The petition reveals that between now and 2030, processed rubber could rake in $950 million for Ghana, but if the country continues to ship out raw rubber, that figure drops to just $380 million. That is a potential loss of about $570 million in foreign exchange. The group's key demands include an immediate halt to no authorizations for raw exports, strict enforcement of the May 2024 directive that requires exporters to prioritize local factories, and a transparent report on exactly how much raw rubber is leaving on our ports. The local rubber processors warn that if the cash and carry export of raw materials is not checked, government-owned Feed the Industry and 24-hour economy agenda will remain nothing more than slogans.
And that was a 3 Business News Desk report. Away from that, JP Morgan has upgraded its outlook on the African Export-Import Bank, Afreximbank bonds, to overweight, effectively issuing a buy recommendation just days after a high-profile credit rating cut sent the lender's debt into a sell-off. The shift follows a tumultuous week for the African Export-Import Bank, which saw its credit rating slashed to junk status by Fitch Ratings. The following 3 Business News Desk report has more.
JP Morgan analysts noted on Monday that the resulting market volatility has made the bonds attractive again, arguing that current valuations now offer significant value relative to benchmarks. The downgrade by Fitch to BB+ was triggered by concerns over the bank's loans to Ghana, which is currently undergoing a sovereign debt restructuring. Fitch argued that the treatment of these loans suggested Afreximbank does not benefit from preferred creditor status, a crucial designation that typically shields multilateral lenders from losses during sovereign defaults. In a rare and aggressive move, Afreximbank severed ties with Fitch last Friday, accusing the agency of failing to understand its development mandate. The bank claimed its founding treaty provides legal protections that Fitch's methodology ignored, and maintains that its business profile remains robust despite the erroneous assessment. Following the bank's decision to terminate the relationship, Fitch subsequently withdrew all its ratings for the institution.
Despite the downgrade to sub-investment grade by Fitch, Afreximbank's bonds remain in JP Morgan's influential investment grade bond indexes. This is because Moody's, now the only major agency still rating the bank, has maintained an investment grade rating of Baa2 with a negative outlook. The analysts added that the bank should be able to adjust future lending practices to mitigate risks associated with further sovereign restructurings.
And that was a 3 Business News Desk report. Now, the landscape of West African agriculture is undergoing a grain transformation as the Innovate for Clean Agricultural Technologies InfoCat project officially reached its pinnacle this week. At a high-level end-of-project workshop, stakeholders from across the region gathered to celebrate the success of young innovators who are replacing manual labor with renewable energy. Launched 2 years ago by the United Nations University Institute for Natural Resources in Africa and funded by the International Development Research Center, the InfoCat initiative has successfully bridged the gap between youthful ingenuity and the practical needs of rural smallhold farmers in Ghana, Senegal, and Cote d'Ivoire. Principal investigator for InfoCat, Professor Fatima Denton, explains.
Women, as you know, have quite a lot of energy needs, and very often they are not able to use modern energy systems. So they have to resort to very rudimentary energy systems. And so this project is about how do we cater for the needs of women in many of their agricultural activities, be that dehusking, be that several things that they may need to do agriculturally speaking, where they would need an innovation in terms of making the energy burden slightly lower so that they don't have to spend much energy in terms of just trying to get to a particular task. So the project was essentially to do that. But I would also have to say that the project was to identify the best innovation because we have entrepreneurs in Africa, many of them work in the energy sector. But oftentimes we don't really give them the space and the time needed. So they do things, but they do things outside supportive measures or supportive mechanisms.
So that was the principal investigator of the Innovate for Clean Agricultural Technologies InfoCat, Professor Fatima Denton, bringing an end to Business Daily here on 3FM 92.7. For more stories, check out our website, s3news.com/business. I am Michael Obodu. Thank you for tuning in. As always, please stay safe. Up next is Ember Blend, and Black Rock Star is on standby. Do stay tuned.